Yeah, hello everyone, it's Maven again. I just wanted to go over both Chiefs games against DFM and Team Secret Wales because I think they're still making a lot of errors in obviously not just gameplay, but I think draft as well. And I think draft is kind of the big reason why I think when they're given drafts that they can actually win with, they do really well, even if they aren't playing it optimally or whatever. But I think they're kind of just like trolling themselves by going these like really hard LCK LPL like inspired kind of comps, and I don't think they really understand the underlying reasons behind them or why they're not even that good. And I think I'm kind of just doing this draft analysis because I kind of want O's to realize like, oh, I think they should kind of have our own identity in the game. Because I think our players are really good, right? But I think if we just kind of like conform and like play all this like random shit, we don't really understand why and we're not playing it well. I think we're just gonna keep losing, honestly. So straight into draft to game one, I think Chiefs already off the bat, the bans are really weird. And my media follow is kind of like why? I mean, I can imagine it's just some sort of like Guwon, like he was on T1 challengers, I believe. He was like quite good from what I saw. So I think it might just be a scouting thing. They might think, oh, this guy's really strong on these picks. But I think it's not these picks themselves that necessarily are the kind of linchpin. It's kind of maybe more Guwon himself and his team play. I mean, these are very like team-centric sort of champs. And I think it gives Guwon a lot of agency in the game. So I think you should probably be thinking more about maybe limiting Guwon's agency in the game. I don't think you do that just by banning every jungler, because I mean, there's so many different junglers in the game, right, that can jungle. And kind of like, if you go for this ban strategy, you're pretty much giving them every single other champ in the game, and then it's like, it doesn't really matter what they pick jungle, even if it's like kind of shit or doesn't really know how to play it, if, his team is kind of getting this full leverage in draft. So yeah, I think it's really troll. Let's talk about the specific champs themselves. Um, I mean, they just played a game where they got hard countered on Viego draft, so I think that's just kind of weird. I mean, you could just kind of do what uh Talon did to you, and then you'd be in a really good position. It's kind of the same with like Vi, where she can get hard countered because she really sucks at the early levels. So like level one invade on Vi, like fighting her maybe level three as well. Like I don't think like she can really play the game post that. And then kind of like you want to abuse her team fight dynamic of just like the fact she always has to go in. And then you can build some really cool like protect comps around that, or like you can even play kind of like this disengagey poke type stuff. Um, and then Zyra is, I think she's kind of the queen of abusing these mid-rangey like Wukong, Xin Zhao type of champs. But I think Zyra is honestly not that good if you either fully index into like an Ivern Nunu, so these kind of like insane gank champs, that also have quite good full clear as well. Or you could, go into like a Karthus, like Morgana, right? Which kind of like are actually matching her clear speed and then can fight her. Because the thing is, right, is Zyra's good because she gets a lot of camps really fast, and then if they just able to overload on any play 3v2 or like 2v1 type stuff, right? But if you play a champ that either is matching her on her clear, and then it's just a better champ overall, and then scales better, or if you play a champ like Ivern Nunu that just has insane utility regardless of camps, also clears really fast, so there's no gank that's happening on the side really quickly. I think these are ways to kind of counter her. I feel like instead I'd probably rather ban like power picks on the patch. Maybe they're scared of or up, like aren't really happy with versing. So one of the Jace, Cassante, whichever one they don't want to take. And Bessa maybe. You could do a lot of things. Like I feel like that would be a lot better for the game. I feel like DFM bans are fine. Obviously, Skarner, Ashe are really good B1, really strong picks in the game right now. I still don't get the Nocturne ban. Like a lot of teams have been doing this against Chiefs. It has to just be a scrim thing where Chiefs kind of like find their element in this like maybe Nocturne Aurora like type of draft stuff, and they kind of want to shut that down. Which I mean, it's understandable to an extent, but I think Nocturne's really easily counterable. I don't think he's that strong in the meta right now, or that strong in general. Sorry, but I mean, I can understand it. It's just kind of a thing of like if I had more knowledge like on their kind of like draft scrims or whatever. So Chiefs B1 Cassante. I'm honestly okay with this in the sense that it kind of lets you go default like even or win your lane, and you can also play the lane swap. But I think the issue with this is it kind of opens you up to a lot of different game counters. So I'm thinking stuff like maybe Shen or Garen. These are both really strong right now in the meta. Um, in my opinion. And obviously Cassante will go even or even beat them in lane, but it's kind of like like it's like you outscale him a lot hard, and like Garen and stuff beats him on side and kind of just provides a lot of utility for the game. So it's kind of like Cassante B1 in theory shouldn't be that good, but I obviously understand they're thinking that these guys are just going to, go the Jace, right? Like they're just gonna handshake it, which is obviously what they end up doing, right? They're just handshaking Jace Cassante. I think in that respect it's probably okay, but I still think it's quite suboptimal. I think there's a lot of better B1s, so I'm thinking like Seraphine, Karma, the Shen for yourself. Obviously Ash is banned, Skarner's banned. There are like a lot of different B1s you could go. You could even set, to be honest. It's quite I'm not too sold on it, but I think he has a lot of flex potential and he just kind of gives you like a good engage, like go button type stuff. But I mean, set I'm not sold on. But I think Karma, Seraphine, Shen are all really good. I get like kind of in reality they won't pick these because they're just kind of conforming to like LPL, LCK, like, oh, these are what they play, so we have to play it, and like, oh, I think it's strong because like scrims or whatever. But like, I mean, I feel like if they really split the time and just kind of like try a lot of different stuff, they'd probably like find their stride. Because I feel like, they should just be looking to like hard draft gap because I don't think they can really pilot these types of drafts in the aggregate just from what I've seen. I'm not trying to be toxic, just, from their games. Um, and then DFM answered Jace Varus. I mean, you're handshaking the Cassante lane with like this tank Jace pick. I think it's fine. It maintains like kind of a semblance of a flex, depending on like later mid pick in the game. Varus is also strong. Varus can obviously be flexed like between these and these. And that, so it's okay, but I, kind of doubting they're going to be flexing this, right? So it's pretty much locking in your Varus AD, which is okay, I think. Various AD is obviously like strong, it's not bad. But I feel like there are kind of like lines to be punished on where like you could just kind of make him go that like weird pokey build that I don't think is that good compared to his on hit build. Or you can kind of just like look to like hard counters, support in lane, stuff like that. So Chiefs are gonna be going for the MF and the Wukong. I honestly don't really like MF. So my current thoughts on MF are kind of like she's just kind of like a do nothing champion. Like you might get in some fights like, oh wow, like I'm in this chokehold and my rel ults and then I get like this insane MF ult, right? But that's kind of it. I feel like that's kind of it with MF. Like she does, kind of like does well in lane. But I mean like if you just kind of win lane and that's it, it's like it's kind of like I don't know why you're picking it. It's kind of mid. Like I feel like play like Lemus, you should probably be looking to have a lot more like stronger like emphasis on in the draft and on his picks. So I don't really like it. And then the Wukong, like Wukong in of himself, these picks are kind of okay, but I feel like we've already kind of thematically cornered ourselves. So how we cornered ourselves, right? It's probably an important thing to go over. So I feel like we've cornered ourselves because firstly, we're kind of playing for this combo, right? Like we're playing for MF Wukong. Like MF is gonna have some combo support with her, right? That's just like how they're gonna be drafting the MF. They're not gonna be playing like some weird enchanter with her. The lane's just like too shit, even if like it's a good angle for the support. So like Wukong's gonna be trying to go with his ult, and then MF's gonna be ulting on top of like Rel or whatever, and you're just gonna be have like this wombo, right? Which then tells DFM, okay, if I just go a champ that kind of denies this wombo combo, especially because they have R5, so they have the luxury of getting the mid counter pick, depending on what they go. It looks like a pretty good game for DFM because I mean you've kind of also pigeonholed yourself, not just in your combo, but if you want to actually like play the game, and not just like kind of get destroyed. You want to go for like a wave clear kind of DPS mage. And I mean there are options here. Obviously, I think you could go the Rise depending on the game. I think you could go like Talia. You could Syndra, a bit more iffy in my opinion. But like these types of champs, I think are kind of now necessary to kind of give Chiefs a semblance of like like they kind of not just pigeonhole themselves completely. And I feel like this is a problem on Chiefs side. I think they're kind of over prioritizing on their first three picks to kind of like get a hard combo down instead of just kind of like staying open. Like this is staying open for DFM. They're kind of like chilling, they're enjoying. And to credit Chiefs, they have kind of done this a bit on the red side with their R1 R2. They do stay a bit open. It's always just on the R3. Kind of like they kind of jump the gun a bit when there's still, a B4, B5, and you have the R4. Um, So yeah, I feel like Chiefs just kind of need to be staying more open here. So like, I feel like if we like pick the Cassante here, um, we could be looking for like Enchanter pick and then Shinzao. Shinzao's really strong on patch right now. Like he's just kind of a good like, he's like a colorless champ, right? He just kind of does whatever you need him to do in the game. And it's like, oh, if you picked Karma here, right? Or like you picked Sarah or you picked Shen, then you could look for maybe a slightly like stronger AD pick. Like you could honestly like just go a Jinx because you like there's no threat of Vi in the game. You could go like an Aphelios who's really strong with like these enchanter type champs. There's a lot of different picks you could go that kind of like make this game like pretty good for you, and then you kind of still stay open in the draft. Like, yeah, I mean, it's kind of like if we ban all these jungle champs, I feel like we shouldn't just be going for the handshake MF. Like, if you keep the Vi open and stuff, and then you go MF, it's like whatever, fine. But like, if you have Guwon off of these really like heavy pick champs, and you see this, and you kind of go, oh, okay, they're kind of indexing a bit into like non-committal kind of like poke. I mean, Varus obviously has two modes, so you can't guarantee that it's poke Varus. But like you see this, and you kind of think, oh, they're gonna go this kind of like pokey stuff, right? So, you could go the Shinzao really good into that. You could go Ivern, really, really strong as well. Ivern on B1 actually would have been really good here, since you kind of ban out these champs that can abuse him early. Although, Zyra loses to Ivern, so it's a bit strange. Or I think it's a good matchup for Ivern, or it's even at least. Even though people pick the Zyra into the Ivern, I think it's kind of like whatevs. Um, but yeah, I feel like this is kind of the big major blunder. It's not a super, super major blunder. But it's fine. Like, and then DFM just go the Rel Archery, which I honestly think is trolling. Like, I get why they do it because they want to answer the MF Rel combo that they could get on the B4, B5. But in that respect, it's like, okay, now you've kind of locked yourselves in, right? You're not going to really be playing, like, I feel like Poke Varus with Rel just seems kind of ass. Like, it doesn't seem that good. I mean, it's like you probably want to be going on hit here. Although on hit obviously looks a bit more like appetizing to this. Um, and then yeah, like Rel easily counterable. You can go Braum, you can go whatever. Yeah, it's kind of like it's just a denial pick, but I don't think it needs to be done by DFM. So they're gonna be on bans. Second rotation says Sejuani Shinzao, completely trolling. Like I don't understand how you get into a draft and ban 5 junglers. Like I don't know if it's just that they did the prep against the Guwon and they were kind of like, wow, Mir just gets fucked on every champ. We have to ban everything for him and then force them on something. But like, if you're ever in a situation, I feel like, where you're banning 5 junglers and there's no rhyme or reason to it, you're just banning random meta picks that are good, right? Like, you should not be that confident going into the game because Guwon is like a pretty good jungler. He can play a lot of different things. So it's like you're banning 5 junglers. You're kind of giving DFM whatever they want in the game that you aren't picking, basically, right? So it's kind of like in terms of like non-jungle ban, like you picked 5 jungles or you banned 5 jungles, picked a jungle, and then you picked MF Cassante, and then everything else that DFM wants is open, which I feel like is very strange. I don't really get it, to be honest. Obviously, it might just be a spur of the moment thing, but it's a bit strange. DFM are just going to be going for Alistar Poppy. They're just kind of looking for these like very basic like rel support answers. I feel like they should be a lot more afraid of the Braum. I mean, I feel like Braum is quite strong with the MF. Quite strong with the Wukong. Obviously, they think that this is kind of like fine into Braum maybe, or they don't expect Luon to pick the Braum, but I feel like it's pretty troll to ban Braum. But I like the idea of just banning out the rail counters for the lane. If you kind of are trolling and just going the rel here. Obviously you shouldn't be going the rel here, but whatever. And then R4. Okay, we just get another jungle pick. We just get the Pantheon. I mean, this is why banning 5 jungles is troll, because you've effectively given a jungle here that is a lot better than a lot of the other jungles that you banned. So, like, I would rather play against a Vi, I'd rather play against a Sejuani than a Pantheon. I think these 3 bans are kind of scary if you were in this spot here. But, like, Pantheon is still pretty good in this spot. He has a lot of, like, insane early game here, right? Like, Cassante just going to be going even in lane against Tank Jace. Like, he might win the lane or whatever, but it's pretty whatever lane. I mean, you're having Varus, Rel, MF is going to get support counter, and it'll be fine, but, like, you have mid counter, and you're going to have a really strong mid 2v2 because you're just going to have, like, a hard thematic answer to these guys. Wukong early, probably not fighting into this guy. Like, if you go the Braum, which you probably have to go in this spot, right? like you aren't gonna be able to like make any insane like early game plays. Like if this Raptor something that's like mid lane, like you aren't gonna just be able to walk on this and fight, because it's like if the Rel matches with Pantheon, you're just infinitely stronger, and then your mid will be countered by R5, right? So it's kind of like you can kind of see draft already falling apart here. So it's like they go the Braum, which is obviously a really good pick, but you can't really play aggressive at all here, right? So you have to go a really insane, like high, like wave clear, kind of insane scaling mid, and then kind of just play around getting your mid bridged through that early game and mid game, and then kind of getting to the late game, where you have like this, pretty decent team fighting comp, because like DFM are kind of trolling, right? So I feel like the Aurora pick that they do on B5 is completely in. I feel like a lot of what Chiefs are doing is just kind of like going for like these predetermined drafts that they probably have that are like, oh, the wombo combo in a team fight's really good here, but they're kind of ignoring the reality of the situation, which is that like if you go Aurora, like how are you wave clearing in this game exactly? Like I guess you can have the Cassante tank and clear the wave, but like MF wave clear is kind of like mid. Like it's pretty mid. She just is kind of autoing, right? Like she can ult the wave, right? But then you don't have your ult for anything after that. I feel like we just should go actually a good DPS mage here. Because the issue is as well is like you technically could be flexing the Cassante Aurora, but like if you counter pick assuming the Aurora is mid, like tank Jace is probably fine into Aurora. You can just kind of like be a bitch, lane swap, whatever, and then like you can kind of play, like a counter like to Aurora that is probably also good into the Cassante, right? So you gotta think also like what mid picks here kind of like deny the team fighting dynamic of Chiefs, right? So immediately go to Vladimir, right? Which is what they end up picking. It's probably one of the best picks here, right? Swain as well is also quite good, I think, for Chief or for DFM. Maybe like some kind of different like weirdo champs, like the fucking like I don't know, maybe like a Victor or Talia, like whatever, like kind of like different things. But I think Vlad's definitely the best here, by far. Like it's pretty Exodia here. I feel like if you wanted to go like B5 mid here, like you would just be going for a Talia, you'd be going for a Rise, like Syndra maybe, like Victor maybe. Um, like you have a lot of different options for like these high scaling DPS mages. You could even go the Anivia, by the way. Anivia is really underrated. Like they're full melee pretty much. Like in terms of their dynamic, because like they've kind of already indexed into going on hit Varus or whatever, and like just going full in. Anivia could be really strong here, and you might say, oh, people don't play Anivia, it's not a meta, but Anivia is a good champion. Like just look at the patch notes of the champ, look at like how it lanes against a lot of different champs. Like it's a pretty good champ, honestly, here, because like if you just hard counter the Anivia on R5, like it's fine because you're just playing Anivia for the team fight dynamic still, but like you have a lot stronger of a team fight, and you also have really good wave clear. So those are a couple options that they could have done. I do feel like they were just very indexed on the combo, but I feel like this is just kind of like a lack of like prep, and also just kind of like you're just kind of ignoring the realities of the draft. DFM have a really good draft here because although Vladimir is off theme from what everyone else wants to be doing, he just hard denies your theme so hard that it's kind of worth to go off theme for that. You know what I mean? Um, so yeah, I mean, a lot of it's kind of like what ends up happening is like they try to invade the Raptor and lose the game. Pretty much that's it, right? Like, it's pretty much over from draft in my opinion. I feel like it's really hard, even though DFM draft isn't that good. But yeah, I mean, going into game two though, they obviously do make some good adjustments, and I think we'll talk about that next. Okay, so in game two, they're gonna be for DFM on blue side, they're gonna be banning the Nocturne, Galio, Ashe. Again, kind of strange picks. Maybe the Galio you can say like, oh, they want to like rumble or something like B1, but that's obviously troll. It is a strong pick though, so I'll give them that. Ashe, I feel like you just want to B1 it yourself. Nocturne, it's just sprint stuff, whatever. Skarner ban is fine for Chiefs. I still really do not get these bans. Like, it's just like already talked about it. I don't think it's that good to be honest. Like, yeah, it's whatever. First, DFM first pick Vi. It's like an insane blunder, right? Like, it's so bad because Vi has no other options in the game other than going in, right? So immediately your thought would be, how do I counter going in? And also another thing to important to recognize is you still have these 4 picks, right? So they're if they vie and then they pivot into going like non-committal kind of disengage, the Vi just kind of like by herself on an island. So you want to be picking Vi and then going more engage on at least B2, B3, B4, and then kind of like maybe pivoting on like these spots or whatever, right? So that kind of tells you, okay, we should just immediately be picking like these kind of disengaged champs. So what are good disengagey type of champs that you can pick early? Like Shinzao Udyr, you can go Shen. Seraphine's really good. The Karma as well. Like these champs that are either complete flex demons. This guy can also be flexed. Technically, top mid. Mid's more iffy, depends on matchup. And then Xin Zhao is just like a good pick. This, good pick into here. And then also Shen is good because you are guaranteed to have a good matchup in jungle at least. So you're guaranteed to have one good lane for Shen, even if they go full like bad lanes for Shen. So yeah, I think all of these picks here are honestly like quite sound for Chiefs. And I have to give it to Chiefs. Like I think they have a pretty decent answer. They go Kalista Shinzao. Kalista I think is a champ that is kind of picked just for the prio, right? Like for the prio of the lane. And then also I think picking Kalista opens up a lot of different support picks in the game. So you can obviously go Nico, you can go like fucking like Rel if you want to, although that was Fearless actually. So it's like just inferior, right? You could go the Nico, you could go the Renata, obviously. You can go a lot of different champs. So it kind of opens up your support pool, which is, okay. And obviously it provides a lot of safety. But I honestly feel like you'd rather just kind of like pick a champ that isn't like useless past like 50 minutes in the game and will just get like theme countered very easily. I feel like you either mid pick early and then flex between AD mid, like a lot of different mid laners obviously are being played ADC now. I think that's a pretty sound option. But like you could just be going like I said, Karma, Seraphine, Shen, whatever, blind flex top early, like that since you're blue side, and that's probably the only way you're gonna be generating a winning matchup. Unless they, obviously whatchamacallit. No, I'm tripping. Don't worry about it. But like blind top early because you're blue side. You're not gonna get the counter anyway, or your red side. You can blind top early and then flex on the R5. A lot of stuff like that. I lost my train of thought there. Whoops. But yeah, Shin's out. Really, really solid. I like the pick a lot. Obviously gives you a lot of different options in the game. You can engage, you can disengage, like he can kind of like play very spacery. He can go like with enchanters, he's really strong. Which is when I was making, I think enchanter and R1 would be really good because then you guarantee the good combo out. And a lot of enchanters are kind of like theme like neutral, so like Karma Seraphine I think can play a lot of different drafts really well, and I think they're really strong just in the game as well. Their items are really broken. Could also answer like an Ivern maybe, stuff like that. A lot of different options here. But yeah, I don't think it's too bad. DFM go Talia and Mbessa. So, whoopsie, and Mbessa. So you obviously kind of have to think like that both of these champs can be flexed. So obviously Talia can be flexed like, or not jungle in this case because they just picked the Vi, right? But I mean mid ADC, it is like pretty decent into the Kalista, and it's obviously what they end up going. But I mean honestly, like in draft phase, like I don't think they're really thinking about the Talia going ADC this early in the draft at least, so I can cut them some slack. But Mbets obviously can be flexed if like this guy can go mid, obviously, or can go ADC. You can flex it between both, but I think for now they're obviously assuming that Talia is mid and Mbets is top. Which is like I think it's okay to assume. I think as actual picks themselves, I think it's okay they both can get flex, which DFM use. They synergize quite well with the Vi while being quite non-committal. So I think it's kind of like some of the best picks you could go with a Vi in this situation where they're trying to index into the anti engage, but obviously it's still Vi, so they have the easy counter in R5 and their life is like pretty nice. And then obviously Chiefs go Renata, like it's just basic pairing. But they're obviously going it because of the Kalista, but it actually is quite good into all of these champs, I think, because Renata kind of just denies their dive, denies like their combo, everything. So kind of like happy accidents. We get the Kalista early and we get the Renata after, really like kind of opening up the pool and being nice, which is kind of what I was talking about with the Kalista opening up the support pool. So it's okay. Draft's going pretty well so far. Like I kind of like this draft. I kind of vibe with it. Also, Renata's really good synergy with Shinzao. So obviously not as good as an enchanter, but like it's still there. I can vibe with it. I can vibe with it. And then we can go to the bans. Chiefs banned the Ezreal and Rakan. So obviously Rakan is really good for these kind of engagey type things. Like Rakan has other modes other than engage, but he doesn't do the other modes as well as engaging, right? So he kind of wants to be engaging, and it's like, oh, okay, like we can maybe disengage a little bit. But obviously, I think that's a good ban. Ezreal is just kind of like, whatever. He's good here. Like they think Talia's mid, so they're gonna be playing around that. I do think a smart thing that they do here though is they are for the Scion, um, which I think is good. Oh yeah, and also actually wait, with their bans, they're just like they're quite whatever. It's just Ori Rumble, right? Like they're just picking champs that like they're picking banning Ori because of the Shinzao combo. Rumble, I honestly don't get because Rumble isn't even that good. Like it's not even that good into Ambessa. If you go Grasp Ignite, Ambessa wins the lane, by the way. So I don't really get it. I guess they just think they're gonna play like Index team fight again, but sounds really good here. It maintains flex with mid top, obviously, if they want to go like some weird shit, like I don't know, they flex the Talia bot and then they go like I don't know, LB or like whatever, like these types of champs that kind of stonewall the mid lane are pretty good. Sion himself's also I think quite good into the Talia mid lane. And you can kind of just like free scale and chillax, enjoy life and all that. So I think it's actually a good flex if they end up doing some shenanigans, which they do. And then you can see here like the Azir Alistar b4 b5. I think this is kind of weird. I mean, obviously now on b4 b5 they reveal that the flea is ADC because you're not gonna like these champs are not going ADC unless you have like a Senna. But like obviously reveal that Flea is ADC now, so they kind of have the whole draft idea. And then they also self-counted themselves by going Alistar. I have no idea why they did this. Like Talia Alistar does not sound like a good lane, guys. Like I kind of don't get it. Yeah, it's just kind of weird. I guess they think that because it cleanses Renata ult or something, it's good, but I don't think it's good. Azir is also super in tier because I think you can angle something really nice like an R5 swing here. That kind of just completely fucks the Azir. And it's also an insane game for Swain because there's just so much melee engage that he can kind of just play around and just like full fucking like bomba people. Other options, of course, include Syndra, who's really good. I actually think Annie also on R5 could be good here because you're just playing for the full burst, so Shin's out, and you have really, really good zone of control, which I'll get into in the draft. It's kind of like fully fleshed out. Victor as well. I actually think Victor is one of the more decent choices here. Obviously really good into all these melee champs, get free scaling. You kind of like having these like scaling guy with like heavy prio bot lane and then like kind of jungle can run around and like put out fires on the map and help you. So yeah, I mean I do like it. So I think with this game, you're obviously playing heavy zone of control, right? What do you mean by zone of control? Basically, like if this is drag pit or something, and like I don't know, this is like the fucking jungle, whatever. Like you want to be getting into like this part like very early, and like this part, and you just like if this is like enemy team or whatever, blah 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 blah. Like you want to be in this part of the map earlier, and you just kind of want to poke them the fuck out with the Victor, like zone around with the Renata Callista, being able to like pull her back in if she goes in too far, just kind of like getting vision. The Scion obviously is playing for like Q angles, like he could be up here playing for Q angle, could be playing for an ult angle down, like or up. A lot of different options here, but I think in the game, honestly, I don't think they play the zone of control in their win con that well, but it's just such a hard winning draft that they just kind of like decimate them and they get their first win. Which I think is why the draft is so important. Like when they win these drafts, like they can play it kind of suboptimally and then just like win, right? Like they can win the game. So I think it's kind of like a good illustration of like, okay, when we draft well-ish, obviously there were things I think that weren't good, but when we like draft pretty decently, we draft like a good thematic. We kind of like give like a decent R5 angle. We pick the Scion early to kind of like Fred and lane swap and all that with the Calista Renata. Like, I think honestly it looks quite good for Chiefs, and I think DFM are like a pretty decent team to be honest. So I think being able to actually like win a match against them purely, I think based on draft diff, obviously Bio and fucking Luon were kind of like trying to 1v9 their hearts out that game because they weren't playing the draft correctly. But it's pretty easy to 1v like 1v9 a game when the draft is like pretty advantageous to you. You know what I mean? And then kind of go into game 3 and then we can see it fall apart a little bit in the draft, but I think there's a lot of like lessons to be learned again. So hey, it's a good game to look at. Okay, so going into this game, Chiefs are on blue side, DFM are on red side, and Chiefs are going to be going for the Zyra Sej Yone ban. I actually think Yone ban's quite good because you just want to like kind of like get rid of the AD mid, like you're trying to like pigeonhole in the fearless draft like his AD mid pick on like here or whatever, which I think is okay. Again, like Zyra Sej, I just don't get it. Like I get that, like I feel like you kind of want the Zyra to be open. Maybe Mir just cannot play the champ at all, but like I feel like with this game especially because they're kind of like still banning out these like AD jungles. I think you want to be angling either an AP jungle or like a really like hyper niche AD jungle, which is also what they end up going with, which I don't think is too bad, but I think there could be better options in the game. So B1 Corki by Chiefs. To be honest, I get that it kind of maintains its flex for AD mid, but I feel like Corki is super overrated. I think it's just strong for like the first 10 minutes in the game, but it's like super melee champ and like it's like if you use W once in lane, you should be getting punished and murdered. And I think like if the enemy are humans, they draft around to counter it, and then your shit's kind of useless. I don't think it's that kind of a pick, but obviously they think that okay, the AD mid pool is really short. We don't want to give them Corki, so it's whatevs. And then DFM are just gonna be answering by going Rumble, which is troll, and then the Maokai, which is actually quite good to be honest. I'm kind of a Maokai believer, to an extent. Um, I think Rumble picks really mid, because you're kind of opening like you didn't ban Galio, so you're opening yourself up to Galio on here, and I feel like Galio Corki is quite like a decent start to a draft, even though I don't think Corki's that good. And obviously like quite melee, so you're rewarding the Corki. Maokai, honestly, I think it's okay. Like you can flex it in like free lanes here, right? It's always suboptimal in top lane, to be honest, but it is playable on the top lane flex if you want to like do some weird shit, but. Rumble, obviously, I don't think he's getting flexed, so it's kind of weird to pick it along here because you can only really go jungle support. But it's still okay. Obviously, I think if you're anticipating a sort of like 80 jungle-ish draft, like the Kindred Galio type of stuff, I think it can work quite well, to be honest, which is, what she's undergoing, so I think that might have been DFM's plan in the game. And then Chiefs just going to be answering with the Leona Galio, and I mean, to be honest, like, I think Galio is obviously good because you're just kind of like picking it for the Rumble, and then like even if they don't go Rumble, it's like fine because it's kind of it's playable into like 80 bids and stuff depending on which one. I feel like blinding the Leona though is honestly bad because I get that they're trying to play for like some like jungle support combo, like I don't know, fucking like Lilia, Nidalee, like this random shit, right? That like is people feel like strong. But like I feel like Maokai support is actually quite nice in the Leona, so you're kind of rewarding Maokai flex by giving him like a guaranteed lane to be safe in. Which unless you're kind of trying to pinch the jungle pool here, I think isn't that good of a plan. So I feel like it's suboptimal. I feel like you kind of want to be playing for like maybe Enchanter, right? Like I feel like Corki with Enchanter is quite good. Like even like because you see the Maokai, you could go early Milio or something. 'Cause, like pretty good lane with Corki or something. Just like bots though. Obviously, like I'm still quite partial to Karma Seraphine and like stuff like that. That could be quite good in the game. And then also like if you're angling Kindred with Enchanter is like pretty fucking nice to play with. You know what I mean? Like I'd rather just have Galio Enchanter than have more CC. I feel like it's kind of like you're indexing a bit too much on the CC by that point. And then also I feel like because of Fearless, you want to be angling for AP jungle anyway, most likely. Um, so like Galio is kind of like he can't go support, right? So and it's like if you want to go AP jungle, it's a bit questionable depending on what AP jungle you go, to be honest. But if you're playing for the 80 Kindred or something, it's okay. So I don't mind it too much. I think it's an okay start to the draft. And then R for Yasuo. So immediately, first things first, what do you think of when you think Yasuo R3 this early? You think they're gonna be going some combo in R4 R5, right? And okay, what haven't they picked? They're probably not gonna be going like Yasuo Maokai. It feels like really weird. So I think they're just going to be going a Diana or they're going to be going a Gragas, right? Those are the two really obvious jungle counters. And they slot really well because they're AP jungles, right? You kind of know they want to be going AP jungle because you pretty much like picked or banned every single AD jungle in the game, right? So it's like, unless they want to R4 Kindred when they have Yasuo, which they're not doing, right? Like, they're going to be going some random fucking tank or they're going to be going this like AP combo. So immediately you should be banning these two, right? And they don't ban them, obviously. You know, I can't have too much faith in O's, to be honest, after having one good draft. Nautilus, we're calling, like, why are we banning these? I don't get why. Like, Nautilus is such a shit useless champ, especially, like, bro, it's Nautilus and the Leona. You're fine handshaking that. Like, Nautilus is such a shitty champ compared to Leona, man. Like, I don't get the Nautilus obsession. It's just some weird thing where it's like, it has to be OP because it hooks level 1 and can, like, roam like every other support, I guess. I don't know, it's a bit kappa. But like Rakan is like whatever. It's just like engagey type champ. But like you should just be banning the Galio Diana here. Like Galio Diana, like or the Gragas Diana, like both of these champs are absolutely insane, no? Because it's like you're pretty much like especially Gragas, like I feel like both of these champs are also quite good into Kindred. Like Diana can just one-shot Kindred, Gragas can just knock him out of the fucking stasis. So it's like you're kind of just cucking yourself. You kind of troll yourself for no reason. I don't really get it. To be honest, like DFM kind of I think assume somewhat correctly that in this spot they're just gonna go Nidalee or Lilia because I don't think DFM like expect them to not ban these junglers and then go Kindred, which is really strange. The B4 Ashe, which is crazy to me. Like why if Ashe is open, why are we not taking the Ashe on B1? Why are we going like Corki, bro? Like Corki's so ass. Like I feel like you're fine with them having Corki. Like you just theme counter. You theme counter and then fucking don't int for the first like 10 minutes of the game, which maybe is a bit too hard for them. But like, come on, bro. Like R4 Ashe is crazy. Like you're just giving them like like this is such like a nice well-rounded comp once you get the Diana or the Gragas, right? Like I feel like at this point you probably have to take the Gragas or something. Like I feel like if you let them take the Gragas, the game is just over. Like you have to do some weird shit where you go like Gragas top and then yeah, you go like Gragas top and then you go Kindred. I think that could be a play that you could do. Um, but like I don't really know how good Gragas is. I feel like Gragas is probably playable honestly into these, so that might actually been the play. You just take the Gragas yourself, especially because they didn't take on R4, because they kind of want to see the full draft on Vela first, right? Which I think is the correct play. Um, and then obviously Kindred is picked, which is what they've been angling this entire draft, and Akali. Um, so we kind of sent our draft, right? It's the Corki 80 and the Galio top. I feel like I don't really get the Akali, to be honest. Like I feel like okay, maybe we'll talk about Kindred first. Kindred in theory here is really nice. You have like, really nice options for Kindred, but like when you have this R5 line of attack for DFM and they can just go the Gragas or like Diana's obviously more suboptimal, but it works out in the same kind of instance. I feel like Kindred is really, really, really terrible, and you're completely inting your team comp and dynamic, like your team comp and your team fight dynamic type stuff by going Kindred. I think the upsides of Kindred though, obviously, like you always will have some in some way with like these champs to kind of get back into the game even if you fall behind. Which is because you have this insane spacing and like you have very good like burst and you have the R to kind of like play, so it's not the end of the world. But I feel like you could have just completely won this draft just by banning Gragas and Diana. Like if you bang Gragas Diana here, like you're really happy with the state of the world. Especially because you went the Leona to give them a good Maokai support matchup, so you want them to index in the Maokai support, right? So banning the two jungles here actually would have been the good play. Like you banned 4 jungles, but like these are like shit bans, whatever. But then ban 4 jungles and it's actually a good draft, and you're like chillaxing. So I don't kind of get that. Akali, I feel like it's just a Jimin like thing. Like he just really likes the champ, but I think it's suboptimal here because one champ I thought of into the Yasuo, I think that's actually not bad. Is honestly Lissandra. Like imagine you just go Lissandra here instead of the Akali. You would just basically be able to like 1v9 on command with the fucking Kindred like like you would have so much setup for Kindred and also for the Corki who does like decent amount of damage even though he's full melee, right? Like it would be pretty nice. Another option, Annie again. I think Annie's really good here. Because you can kind of just W on Yasuo's head and his win wall doesn't do anything, even though like he can win wall your Q, but whatever, bro. Like you know what I mean? It's the same thing with Lissandra. Like you just W on his head and you're chilling. I feel like all of these are fine. Also, Swain again could have worked quite decently for here. But obviously, it's like I don't expect them to like go Swain or whatever. But Swain also could have worked really nicely because he does have a lot of early prio and pretty good into these champs because his Q will go for Yasuo and wall, even though like his E won't, right? I think that's fine. But yeah, they go Akali. They just go this Jimmy and special, which I don't even think it's that good of a, it's like okay in the Yasuo, I think. It might be like slightly winning, but I don't think it's that good of a pick. And then obviously DFM just completely win the draft by going Gragas R5. And why do you win draft? Okay, you can knock this guy away, you can zone this guy, you can like knock these people away from what they want to do. You insane util for this guy, insane util for this guy. This guy's just setting up pick, but he has like insane peel with the map, and this guy also has really good follow-up. So I feel like you've completely won the draft. Which I think goes to show why these second rotation bans and picks are actually so important. Because this position would actually be really good for Chiefs, I think. Even though I think these are kind of suboptimal, I think this position is actually quite good for Chiefs. But they completely blunder it on the B4, B5, and then obviously DFM's answers. And they kind of make life really hard for themselves when this draft would have been really good. And obviously in this game, they do find ways to come back because of their champs, but it's kind of like, I feel like this game's just kind of set in stone regardless. So that's my thoughts on it. Okay, so this is the first game against Team Zero Rules to Chiefs. Chiefs are on blue side, Team Zero Rules on red side. Firstly, bans like Corky ban, I don't really get any of these bans. I feel like they're kind of just random. Like, I don't think any of these champs are that strong. I think they're usually counterable, whatever. Skarner ban's good. I think Kalista ban's just an answer because Chiefs won their first game with the Kalista pick. I think it opened up Blue One's pool really nice, and they might just be scared of that. So I think it's okay for them to ban it, but obviously Kalista is quite suboptimal. I think you can like really easily counter it on any of these picks, and like just fanatically, and then she can't do anything. Viego ban also don't get, can just counter it. Okay, so B1 for Chiefs is the Ezreal. Again, I'm not sure why we don't just B1 Ashe. I think it's a lot. I think it's a very like Ezreal's okay, but I think Ashe is a stronger B1. I think unless you want to pick like, I don't really know. I feel like if you want to B1 an ADC exclusively, like you don't just want to B1 like a Karma Shen, like any of these different champs, like I just think they need to like index into just like I think you just go Ashe, or I think you just drop the LPL LCK LARP and you just go a Shen, or you go a Seraphine, or you go a Karma, or you go Udyr, honestly B1, like, or you go Ivern. A lot of different very, very strong picks on patch that could kind of just like win you the draft easily. I don't think it's necessarily a bad B1 though. I just think like you are kind of pigeonholing yourselves already into going like a kind of like pushy type of lane, because I feel like if you go like certain types of champs, it'll feel really ass later on in the draft, to be honest. So Team Secret Wolves are gonna go Varus Aurora. I mean, it's like like Varus maintains some flex, but obviously I don't think he is, because I think Varus is just a range answer to Ezreal in the ADC spot. So you kind of have to worry more about the Aurora being flexed between mid and top. Obviously I think better picks here would just be to like go fucking like, I think you take the Karma from Chiefs. You probably just go like, I think you could go Varus Karma and be happy with that, to be honest, and then save your pick for later, because then you still have to flex in the Karma, flex in the Varus technically, and then you can kind of like let the draft kind of like go on from there, because I think they're quite like theme like their theme, it's not really set in stone. And then I feel like also these champs are quite burst centric, so you want to kind of be looking into like that anti-burst type of thing. So Xin Zhao is really good. Like I feel like Chiefs will just hard win the game if they just go Karma Xin Zhao here, right? And why is that? Because you have the insane pushing lane in the Karma Ezreal, which is really nice synergy. It's not like fucking like esoteric. Like I feel like they've probably played this a lot just in like historically. Like it's a very known lane. And then you also have the Karma with the Xin Zhao, and Xin Zhao answers both these champs quite well, I think, and he answers any possible pick that could be going on R3 quite well. And then obviously like later in the game, later in the draft, I think he will still like have quite a lot of value, even if he's kind of team count or whatever. And they obviously do to the Xin Zhao, but they go to Leona instead. I just don't get the Leona. I don't get it. I won't lie. I'm a hater. I'm actually a hater of the Leona right now. I feel like it's not a bad champ, but like, why are we not just going the Karma? Like, we're giving them the luxury of getting the support counter pick no matter what, basically, right? Because Karma at least has some flex. And then like if you want to flex the Karma into mid or top and then go to Leona later, like sure, I'm honestly fine with that, because then your Leona will probably be into something on R4 and you can be like happy because you're probably gonna R5 top in this situation, right? So it's like it's chill. You're happy with that. So I don't get it. It's just kind of like it's like a thing of like, oh, it's strong with Xin Zhao or whatever, but Karma's even stronger with Xin Zhao, because you will always have push and prio. You will basically force a lane swap, which sets up a later Sion pick that you guys obviously like really like, which I think is good, honestly. I really like the Sion pick as well for you guys. And then you also give super strong team fighting, and you still have that insane pressure because Karma Shinzao can just run around. So I feel like, I see the Leona pick as a blunder. It's like it's the same thing with the Ash pick if they B1'd it, because you can either go, like, Ash is even better, by the way, because you can go Karma or you can go Seraphine, and both of these are really, really strong. I feel like Seraphine, like, is might be a slightly better, because then the Ash Seraphine lane will be even more oppressive, but I feel like it's quite good, because Ash Seraphine also has the luxury of not having to perma push, but I feel like Karma, Ezreal kind of want to. But yeah, I feel like Leona is a blunder, to be honest. Team Secret Wolves, they go to Pantheon. I feel like this is like it's okay. I think it's like it maintains flex, right? Like you can go mid, top, or jungle, or support, by the way. So I actually think it's quite decent. So it's okay, but like they're going super burst Zug Zug, which is kind of like good for Chiefs because it's rewarding this Leona blunder that they had. So you can be happy about that. But like I can kind of see like a Scion and then heavy like controller type of champ. So you go Scion and I don't know, you go like fucking Victor or whatever, like whatever type of champ works. And then you are pretty happy with the sit of the game. So Chiefs ban Braum and Jace. I feel like Braum ban not bad. Jace ban I mean, it's okay-ish. I think if you're fine, I feel like you're fine kind of handshaking Jace Scion, because Jace Scion go in the lane swap, and I feel like Scion is just more like value in the lane swap. Braum ban also fine, so I don't have too much issue with these. Although I probably wouldn't ban Jace, but it's probably just like their preference or whatever. Ori Cassante, I feel like this is okay. I mean, they just want to deny Ori combo with Shin, which I feel like a lot of teams have been doing when they pick the Shinzao and B3, R3 type stuff. And then Cassante is fine. You just need to. Although, like, I feel like Cassante is like a fine ban, but you don't really need to ban it because you have the R5, so you could just angle like an insane Garen angle here and then be really happy with everything. Or you could just go mid lane counter pick and then up the Aurora against the Cassante, and you can at least win like early levels or whatever. But it's like it's whatever. And then they go Elise. So Elise technically maintains flex, right? Support jungle, but I feel like they've fully shown that they want to go burst, right? Like they fully want to go in. They want to like fucking one shot you, and like you want to, they kind of want you to be fucked. So what I would do in this instance, to be honest, is I would probably look for like an Ornn. I think Ornn is really, really strong because I think he gets a lot of value out of like firstly mid picks items, Shinzao items, Ezreal items, and obviously Leona items if Leona builds correctly. And goes like Leona Locker Redemption type stuff. I think gets a lot of value out of that. But obviously Scion is still quite good, and Ornn I think is also maybe a bit susceptible to lane swaps more so than Scion, so I think that's okay. And then the Azir I think is a major, major, major blunder. I don't get the point of Azir here. So are you looking to go in, or because your entire team doesn't really want to go in that much? You want to kind of play zone of control and chill. And you could argue that Azir is kind of zone of control, but I think there's a lot better options. And also Azir always has to go into ult, right? So he always has to kind of break his zone of control, even if he has like his fan soldiers and he's like poking you, right? He has to break it to go in. Which I think is bad into this comp, because I think he'll just get one shot bursted. To be completely honest, I feel like you aren't really wanting to engage in the picks here from Team Secret Whale, so you want to kind of like you want to save champ which can zone. So I think my immediate thought here is Swain. I'm kind of a Swain sales bid so far. I think it's really strong. Even though it's blind, it's still strong enough in the team comp, and Sion and Swain can also be flexed. So yeah, I think like even if they angle whatever here, like they end up going to Jax. I don't think they'd go to Jax if they saw the Swain, but if they do, Swain's insane into Jax, and he's also pretty decent into Aurora. So I think you'd be really happy with the Swain pick if you end up going it. Like you could just do a lot of things, and then you have free winning lanes, by the way, since that would just be stonewalling, and then Jax like cannot play into Swain top or whatever. I feel like it's just the issues here of like the Leona and the Azir pick. It's just that they're completely like antithetical to what the rest of Chiefs want to be doing, right, in this game, and what you want to be doing to win. So like imagine if they had like Swain and Karma instead this game. So like you go like your Karma here, like, and then you go Swain here. Like this is like crazy, crazy, crazy draft win. You cannot lose this draft ever because you're strong early game, strong mid game, strong late game into all their champs, and you're really happy. And like the game's completely unplayable. It's like obviously go Jax, they go like tank Jax or whatever here. It's kind of shit. But yeah, I mean I feel like like this game would have just been so much easier if they just went these better picks. Like they didn't even have to change their draft that much. They just changed a little bit and then the draft's completely winning. You don't have to go fucking full crazy, right? Like you don't have to go do all this like crazy theoretical shit. I'm just kind of like walk through it. And I mean like I get the reasoning to some extent, right? Like I do get that the Azir it's like an okay matchup into Aurora. And obviously like he does okay with this team comp, but it's very suboptimal. And I think you don't want to be Azir shuffling in here. You want to feel like what, you're just defensively Azir walling? Like I don't get it too much. And then the Leona as well, I think, is kind of the linchpin here that kind of like made the draft go very downhill very quickly. But yeah, I feel like this draft's kind of just emblematic of like these key kind of linchpin issues. I think Chiefs have on these like kind of later picks, B2, B3, and R3. And then obviously like here, I think Chiefs are honestly quite solid on these early picks. They just kind of like lose their way later. So yeah, and I mean I think like you don't have to go full fucking like save your comp to like win a game, right? Like I think game 2 is a really good example of a draft that I honestly think that they win. Like, I think they win it pretty well, and it's like a fucking Lee Sin comp, right? And I don't think Lee Sin's the best champ in the game, and I think he's like kind of ass, but like it's still a draft win, even with a shit champ. Which I think is an important game to go over, and I think just go over that now. Okay, so Chiefs have opted to take blue side again, and then Team Secret Wolves are on red side. To be honest, I will just say this about side selection. I actually think red side is a lot stronger, and I think Chiefs would do a lot better if they consistently had the R5. Like the game they won was with R5, right? So I kind of don't get why you're picking blue side if you're gonna pick something like the MF. Like I have said before, MF I think is kind of a shit champ. These are just kind of shit bans, whatever. I don't get why you're banning these two together. I don't get why you're banning this guy at all. Like, fine. Like, this is fine ban. These are kind of shit bans. Already talked about like 50 times. Like, MF, bro. Like, the Ashe champion is open, by the way. The Ashe champion is open. Just go Ashe. Just go Ashe. Just go Ashe. Like, I don't get it. I don't get it. Like, I'm gonna crash out, bro. This champ is like so bad, bro. Or you just go Karma, or you go Seraphine, or you go Shen, or you go Udyr even, or you go like fucking, you could like B1 like Wukong or something if you fucking wanted to, and then flex it between jungle top, like YOLO, bro. Like there's a lot of different options that I think are just inherently a lot better here than the MF. I think MF just like it's just like a do nothing champ. Like if you look at a lot of pro games this season, you will see the MF and she might click ult once and like do decent damage in a team fight, and that's kind of it. Like the champ is kind of just her ult, which I don't think you want to be picking this early. And then Team Secret Wolves, they go to Jace. Whoopsie. Oh my god, I cannot fucking type. What the? They go Jace and then they go Nidalee, which is interesting. I think Nidalee's complete ass. So I think especially this early in the draft, Nidalee's complete ass because she like cannot play the game. She doesn't have prio lanes to invade. So immediately you can utilize flexes to get priority in these lanes and then fuck the Nidalee completely. And then also you can go a heavy skirmish champ into Nidalee that completely fucks her. So Udyr is really good into her. Like you ban the Nocturne, but Nocturne actually wouldn't have been that bad. Like Lee Sin's honestly not that bad. Like Viego, if you didn't ban him, like a lot of different stuff. I think actually can play into Nidalee quite decently. So yeah, honestly, like that's why I'm kind of fine with Chiefs going the Rel Lee Sin here. I mean, like again, Rel is just blind because it's fucking like it's just for the MF combo, but I think it's troll in reality. I get it's like Le combo. Oh my god, you flash and then you like MF ult and you go like get like 50 kills, but like it's like, bro, like you have to think about the game holistically rather than just like this niche little combo here, which is like if they slam the Ashe Braum, you are so fucked in this game because how do your champs play against Braum, bro? Like, hello, like why? Like I don't get it. Like you have to ban the Braum here, by the way. If you don't ban the Braum here, you're trolling. And you should have picked the Ashe. But it's just me. And also, imagine if you picked the Ashe here. Lee Sin would have been really good because you have this insane guaranteed pushing lane. Because then you go Seraphine or whatever, you just go some other Ashe combo. You go, and you just completely like Giga, like just fuck this like ball lane, and you can draft like, okay, I can go like a decent top pick, a decent mid pick, and then Lee Sin's really happy with the game state, and you actually like are kind of happy you picked Lee Sin because he has really, like Lee Sin's a champ where he wants to force his will on the map, and to do that he needs, some prio lanes, and I think he needs CC on all of his lanes. Because I think it's very hard for Lee Sin to play the game when he doesn't have CC on his lanes. And I think if he has CC on his lanes, it actually becomes like a decentish champ. Although like I do get the criticism that it's kind of like a noob. It's like a noob stomper where you're like skill checking people slash like praying that people make mistakes in the game. But I think if you draft like decently around the least, then it can honestly be not that bad. Especially into something like an Italy. Um, so yeah, I mean, like I feel like Lee also eventually does outvalue Lee because he will always have utility and he'll always be somewhat tanky. And then Team Two Worlds go Tristana flex. So Tristana is obviously a flex. You can even go top, by the way. But it's just a guarantee that she has prio lanes. So this just hammers the point in more that you want to guarantee that you have at least like prio or like even on all your lanes, right? Um, that like actually like be able to do anything. So yeah, I mean, like this is obviously like a really fucking strong mid 2v2. So you want to go for like a, decent like quite stonewally type of mid champ that can just kind of like go even against the Triss or like because they have the luxury of R5, they're probably gonna hold their mid pick or their top pick to R5, or like whatever, or even their support pick, whatchamacallit, you know what I mean? So it's like they have a lot of options here because of this opening in the draft, even though this is like suboptimal. They still do have a lot of options compared to Chiefs, to be honest. And then Chiefs are just gonna be going for the Alistar and the Nautilus ban. Like, bro, whatever. Like, I'm not even gonna talk about it. Like it's just so bad. And then they go for the Victor Cassante bans, which make a lot more sense in the game, I think. I think Victor ban is kind of weird. Because I don't know if you want to play Victor with Lee Sin, but like Cassante ban's pretty good to be honest. I don't get it. Like, why are we not banning the Braum here, bro? Like, look at our champs, and like if we're angling an Ornn here, like they go on before, like how is Ornn playing into a Braum? How is MF, Rel, Lee Sin, Ornn, and then whatever they pick here from Mage playing into Braum, bro? Like we're just like we're gimping ourselves for fun. Like I honestly like it's kind of baffling. I don't get the draft decisions being made here. Like I'm trying to be charitable about it, but I do think it's just kind of like a very bad misallocation of what's strong in the meta and having a very narrow mindset of what actually can be picked. Um, so yeah, I do think it's quite weird. Like Ashe on 4 should be illegal. You should have the Ashe on blue side if you're not banning it. Like you're just giving them a free lane now. So firstly, it's Tristana mid, and now it's Ashe bot. Ashe is gonna have a winning lane because she has support R5 here for whatever you pick. Trist is probably gonna have a winning lane unless you go some like secret like fucking counter. I can think of like there's probably like a few that I think can just completely stonewall her. So I mean, probably like Swain probably does decently. I think Hui probably does decently as well. Talia probably does decently. You could maybe go some like kind of more top bruisery champs. Like you could go fucking Shen mid or something. Like something really, really weird. Although Shen mid probably just gets completely ass blasted when he doesn't have W, so that's a bit more iffy to be honest. But it's just that's like if you flex it and you want to like completely YOLO flip it. But I think honestly the Ornn here is fine. Like the Ornn or the Hui here is fine into Triss. It's probably like a decent winning matchup for him. It's a question of like getting prio, I guess. But I think Ornn in theory is quite good here because Ornn gets a lot of value, from upgrading this guy's items, this guy's items, this guy's items, and also this guy's items. He goes lock it and shit. The issue is though is you have R5 Braum, guys, and Ashe Braum, really good lane that people play a lot. And like he has a lot of champs that can stack very quickly his passive. And also has a lot of value here. So it's a really, really obvious Braum pick, which is crazy why they didn't ban it. Like it's probably like the best pick you could possibly go here on the Star 5. Like it just is. I don't think there's any other pick. Like you could argue maybe Tarek, but like Tarek is just like mid. Like I think the best option into like Ornn and stuff is very standard ground type champs. So Braum's a really good pick here. You're just completely standing your ground into these champs and like you just fucking press your shield and you're like chillaxing, you know what I mean? Um yeah, I think it's completely Exodia here. I think Team Secret Wolves are just winning this game by default. And like, okay, I obviously understand that this game was an insane Chiefs throw, but like, if you're ignoring just results-based analysis, like Chiefs should just be getting fucked in this game because this draft is just inherently better, right? Because like even though they don't have like if they didn't have this Italy champ, like it would be harder winning. But like purely because of like the Braum and the like Tristan Ashe and shit, I think this draft is honestly like very good for Team Secret Wolves. Like if they ban the Braum here, right, on one of these picks, like this draft is hard winning. And why is it hard winning? You have CC on mid, CC on top, CC on jungle, or CC on bot. You have a Lee Sin who really likes the CC. You have like pretty decent late game team fighting if you don't have a Braum. You also have really good early to mid game spikes with the 1-2 item on Lee Sin. So yeah, it's again, it's just like I feel like a very common theme that Chiefs have is they kind of find their groove and then just completely int the game on their bans. I think their bans are honestly quite a important issue that they have. They aren't really identifying what the enemy team needs to win this game, or what they can pick to win this game. Um, so I think like they did a better. I think they did a better, like thing on their late game or their later picks in the draft. But it's just their bans just completely, their bans completely through this game, and that's just kind of the truth. Like it's still solid the draft, which is why they were able to like basically win the game, and then obviously unfortunately lose. But like this draft could have just been completely winning if they just banned Braum and then probably swapped out the MF fucking Rel for a probably better balling combo. Yeah, I mean, like in summary, though, I think all five of these drafts, I think the common theme for them is firstly, I think they really need to utilize flexes more. Like, I think locking into stone your champs like this and kind of just praying that nothing happens is really bad. And then also kind of like maybe like reevaluating their like late like pick ban strats. So I feel like a lot of their drafts honestly start out quite solid on these early picks, and then it kind of just starts falling apart here and here. Um, which is I think quite emblematic of like I think they do a lot of draft prep obviously, but I think a lot of the draft prep is quite catered towards kind of like just getting in like this like a sort of like winning draft like in like theory, you know what I mean? Like you're not really paying attention to what's happening on the actual like client. Which I think is probably the most important part. I think it's adaptability actually inside the draft, and actually being able to identify what is like good and bad like picks here and what they can actually pick. And like to be, it is a hard job, right? But obviously like if you're a coach of a pro team, you should be kind of like locking in a bit. And obviously like it probably isn't just the coach, it's the players as well. A lot of input on draft is just a lot of player led stuff. So I think they probably need to lock in a bit as well. Um, yeah, I mean, I feel like these are honestly the two main ones. I think it's utilizing flexes and draft way more, and probably also just like moving away from like fucking LPL, LCK brain rot, right? Like, I feel like a lot of their drafts are just kind of like going with this meta. I mean, it's like LCP meta, right? It's just like, oh, okay, we're just gonna go like this like fucking really basic like Eastern shit, but like we are not winning games playing this really basic Eastern shit because it's firstly not even that good, and secondly, these teams probably have way more practice on it with like better like way better practice with like more experience on it in a better league over time. Like I feel like we should kind of just be developing our own draft identity where we're actually identifying what's good like firstly into this, but then also just like what's good like in the actual games, like what's good flex, like what's good like counter, what's good fucking like on all lanes, like okay we can like flex karma here like on fucking every lane in the game unironically pretty much. We can go Karthus even. Karthus is also a giga flex on like a lot of different lanes. Shen giga flex, like Seraphine giga flex, Shinzao really solid pick, like Ivern, technically a flex, bit more of a homebrew though. Like we don't need to do like absolutely insane like fucking like crazy like fucking like we go like Warwick top and stuff, like we do all this crazy shit, although Warwick is really good to be honest, but we will cross that bridge when we get there. Once I think we start winning games we can start looking at the crazier stuff. I think we just need to like focus on kind of moving out of this like brain rot fucking idea of the game and actually kind of like winning drafts, and then I think once we start winning drafts we'll start winning games. Because like I mean, even in like the game, like the game two versus DFM, right? Like they did not play the draft correctly, or like they did not play the draft how it is meant to be played. You're supposed to get the zone of control on objectives and like on camps and on towers, whatever, and then just basically like zone them the fuck off, poke them the fuck off, like play really strong if they ever try to engage. And they did that in some fights, obviously, but not every fight. A lot of fights is just kind of like they're champ diffing them. But I mean that's why winning draft's so important, because like you can play the game so optimally and still win because you won draft. And I mean yeah, I think that's my summary. Thanks for watching. It's a pretty like long fucking condensed one because I'm trying to like get through all the games so I can get up, up to date, up to date, so I don't have to like look at old games. But yeah, I mean thanks for watching. And bye bye.